This is your local home for Mike and Mike, the Sports Huddle, and all your favorite teams. Get it all right
This
here
makes my day go great.
on the SEMO ESPN Sports Network.
And now, at last,
Time now for the Kofeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show on the SEMO ESPN Radio Sports Network.
I have more to tell you.
The Southeast Coaches Show airs every Tuesday at noon on ESPN 92.9 FM and 1220 AM. Live from Wings, etc. in Cape and Jackson. This is your chance to delve deep into the Redhawks football season with head coach Tom Matukewicz.
Now, ladies and gentlemen,
Let's go live to Wings, etc.
let's go!
Right here on the Kofeld Distributing Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN.
And it is another edition of the Redhawks Coaches Show, the Kofeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke. We are at our Cape Girardeau location of Wings, etc., where they have their award-winning jumbo wings. Dine in, carry out, you make the choice. They have a full menu featuring not only the wings, but fresh burgers. And I think our first guest can tell us a little bit about that. The wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads. They have smoked ribs here at Wings, etc. And they have their appetizer lineup, including their famous ultimate nachos, their spicy deep-fried pickle spears. As you look around, the dining rooms are filled with lots of high-definition televisions for the best sports programming, including the NFL Sunday Ticket. So you want to watch the Rams play at Green Bay this Sunday, this is the place. And don't forget about their half-pound lunch specials, which start at just $6.49. Wings, etc. Coach Tuke is going to join us in just a little bit. That's because our first guest, the reigning OVC Co-Defensive Player of the Week, Chad Meredith, has a class at 12:30, so we got to get him in and out. Chad, welcome to the show. What class do we need to get you to at 12:30?
Accounting 1.
Accounting
1. Yeah.
1. Tell us about that class.
It's a pretty difficult class. I'm trying my best in it. Got a B in there right now, so hopefully I can move that up to an A.
What's your favorite class?
Probably accounting so far, really.
So you like it?
Yeah.
All right, now you're a marketing major?
Sales management.
Sales management major.
Yeah. Trying to follow in the footsteps of my father.
All right, what's your dad do?
He's a national salesman. He sells actuators for a company called Kenetrol.
All right. Now, does your dad say anything about if you get a sales managerial job, a haircut may be in your future?
Yeah, I think definitely the hairdo is just a college thing. I don't know if that's going to help me get a job in the future, so I might have to go.
Well, I'm sure the girls like it. He's got a full head of hair. And as your football team prepares for Eastern Illinois Saturday, let's look back at what you guys were able to do against Murray State. I bet coming into the game, just watching the way that they slide the ball around on offense, they spread you out. They've got a very experienced quarterback, and they really rack up a lot of yards for what you guys were able to accomplish. I would think you had to be pretty pleased with your performance holding that high-powered offense to one touchdown.
Definitely. I mean, going into the game, our game plan was simple because their offense was such high tempo. We just needed to line up, and we knew we had the players. So if we lined up against their players and ran to the ball, we knew we could come out with the win.
You know, we'll talk with Coach Tuke as the show goes along, but Coach Tuke kind of said, they're probably going to get their yards against us. We're not concerned so much about yards. We're concerned about points. Yes. And they only scored 10 points, a touchdown and a field goal. Was that the mindset for a lot of the defensive guys? Yards really are meaningless. We got to keep them off the scoreboard.
Exactly. And looking back, every team Murray's played, they put yards up against. So we knew the two categories we had to win was third down and red zone, and we ended up winning both those categories.
Well, one thing you did well, only one quarterback sack, but boy, you were in Katie Humphrey's face the entire game. 10 quarterback hurries. You had 3 of those. It looked like he never was really able to get comfortable in the pocket because of the pressure you guys were applying.
Yeah, our D-line is top-notch, and against any O-line, we're always putting pressure against the quarterback, and whenever he has to get that ball out quicker than he wants to, nothing good happens for them.
Well, their running game really was decent with Roman Clay. Now, that guy is not real tall, but he looks like he is really thick and put together. That's a guy who's a strong runner. Rank him as a guy that's tough to bring down.
From 1 to 10, probably a 6 or 7. I mean, he's one of those backs that's not afraid to hit your head up, and when he hits, he's going to keep his feet running. So he was a very respectable back.
Chad Meredith, our guest, Redhawks linebacker. Now, you are 6'5". That is very tall for a linebacker. Is that an advantage for you being that tall? Can it be a disadvantage? Because that's a lot taller than the average linebacker.
Definitely. Originally, when I came to SEMA, I was a middle linebacker, and being that tall was a huge disadvantage because I couldn't get too low to make any hits or anything. But with the new defense coming in, I was able to be moved to outside linebacker, where my height and length is definitely a huge advantage.
Now, Roper Garrett's a middle linebacker, and he's 3rd in the league in tackles, just went over 200. He's a perfect middle linebacker, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. He's a good middle linebacker, but he's a better teammate and a real good friend.
All right. You were able to rack up double-digit tackles for the 2nd consecutive game. How good is it for you to be back on the field? Because you missed 8 games last year with a shoulder injury. You had a really good game in the win over 3rd-ranked Southeastern Louisiana. Then you got hurt. Tell us about the process of getting back on the field and how good it is not to be standing on the sideline cheerleading for your team.
Oh, it feels amazing. This is the most college football I ever played, so fingers crossed I keep on going.
What was the rehab like coming back from the injury?
You know, our rehab was top-notch with Ben, our trainer, and all the surgeons did a great job, and the rehab went very smoothly, so I feel better than ever.
Do you like to play a team like Murray State who will sling it all over the field, or maybe a more run-oriented team like you're going to see this week at Eastern Illinois? Now, they still throw the football, but they're 3rd in the league in rushing, right behind you guys who are 2nd. So that has been their, calling card, rushing the football. They've got 2 really good backs, Devin Church, who transferred from the University of Illinois, and then Shepard Little, a 5th-year senior, who's a former All-American. They got 2 pretty good running backs.
Definitely. But I'd rather defend the run than the pass. Just the position I play, I love hitting the running back when he's trying to cut back, or trying watching middle linebackers like Roper stuff a hole. So definitely I love defending the run.
So you lead the league in tackles for loss, 7 of them. You had 2 more on Saturday against Murray State. What is the key to be successful to get behind the line of scrimmage and bring someone down, whether it is a quarterback or somebody carrying the football?
Just run into the ball. And when you get there, having a violent clamp, because missed tackles are one of the worst things you can do, So when you go up there and you violently clamp and you're just running as fast as you can, nothing's better than when you get that tackle for loss.
How tough is it during film session with Bryce Saya or Coach Tuke, and you're going over film and one of your missed tackles is about to come up on the screen?
You definitely start sweating a little bit, whenever you messed up and you see it's about to come up on film, you start getting a little nervous, like, are they going to call you out in front of the whole team? But those guys, they coach you hard, and they've definitely made me and the rest of the team better players by doing so. All
right, at 6'5", I guess some people will say, now, how fast are you? Rate the speed of the linebacking core.
I'm definitely the fastest linebacker. But, all of our linebackers run to the ball, and, when they get there, they make plays. So speed-wise, I'm definitely the fastest linebacker.
Tell us about how fast a college football game is, how quick you have to make decisions. In the Missouri game, it was the SIU game, you were called for targeting, so you had to leave the premises. Basically, they say, we would like to continue the football game, but we would like to continue it with you somewhere else, which is tough. But when you're going full speed and you've got, maybe a split second to make a decision on a tackle, you're going after a guy that may lower his head or make a movement. Tell us about how quick a football game is and take us through that play with SIU.
Yes, college football is so much faster than any high school game. Coming in, I had to learn that pretty quick. But, those split-second decisions, that just all comes down to the drills we run and practice, getting hitting the player in the target zone, and just making sure that we're well coached and we know where to hit a player when we get there.
How chippy was that game with SIU? How much chirping was going on during that game, and then the Murray State game, your first conference game?
Yeah, every game people are talking back and forth. All teams in OVC are highly competitive, so there's always going to be that chirping back and forth. But I try to just kind of do my own thing. I don't like to listen to what other people say, and just go out and play the game I love.
All right, I know some guys probably have some pretty good lines. Have you ever been lined up against somebody, or in a pile, or involved in a collision or something? Somebody says something, and it actually makes you chuckle. I mean, can you remember the best one-liner you may have heard? Maybe it was from one of your teammates or from the opposition.
Yeah. Roper said some funny ones. I can't really remember, but he's usually a good go-to with the one-liner after a tackle, or his celebrations always get people going. But like I said, I kind of just try to focus on what I'm doing, so I'm not really listening to what everybody's saying.
Well, you had pretty couple of good celebrations in the Murray State game. You deny the tight end a touchdown over near the pylon. I don't know how you knocked the ball away from him. Not only did he not get in because he was pretty much wide open on that throwback play, but the throw was so high. I know it gave you time to close. Mm-hmm. You knocked the ball out of his hands. It goes out of the end zone. You guys get the football back. I thought I saw a little celebration there. Then they tried to run some kind of an end-around reverse, and you got back there to blow it up. I thought I saw another celebration there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd really call those celebrations. I was kind of just losing my mind and just so excited for the team, and just trying to get my teammates excited about the game. And, the sideline for this game was huge. Everybody was pumped up, and everybody was lifting everybody up.
Your defense is third in the league in scoring defense. In other words, fewest points allowed in the OVC. That's the bottom line with defense, right? Yards or any of these other stats are great. How many points are you giving up? And so far, you guys have been third best in the league.
Yes, sir. Our coaches always stress third down and red zone. We got to win those two stats, and so we practice those situations constantly, and it's paid off.
Boy, what was impressive in a game, you hold Murray State to, I believe, 3 for 15 on third down in the football game. That was the number one third down offense in the league, and then they go 1 for 4 on fourth down. So on third and fourth down, you guys really stepped it up on Saturday.
Yeah, our another big coaching point for that game was our eye discipline. And, everybody had great eye discipline during the game, so they weren't able to gash us downfield like they have been to other teams.
Now, you are from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
We need a proper pronunciation of the city name because I know the natives do not call it Louisville, correct?
Louisville, Kentucky.
All right.
Is the proper
Does that bug you when you hear people give it the Louisville?
It used to, but, after hearing it so many times, I'm just used to it.
Now, how was it for you last year on a road trip? Coach Tuke said, hey, I don't like to ride in a bus for any more than 3+ hours. If that's the case, we're going to stop and we're going to pull in somewhere and see if we can work out. And you stopped at Papa John's Stadium in Louisville, your hometown, to Michael Jackson's hometown. How cool was that for you guys?
Yeah, I wasn't able to make that trip because I was still recovering from my shoulder injury, but all the guys were really excited because that is a very nice stadium. So getting able to see that type of facility, I'm sure, was really nice.
I was impressed with their just facilities overall. The Yum Center is unbelievable. Their baseball facility, they're coming off the College World Series. They have a top-notch baseball facility. They have a nice campus there at Louisville.
But yeah, now I'm going to have to say I'm a huge University of Kentucky fan.
There we go.
So I have respect for the University of Louisville, but, those Kentucky facilities are way nicer.
All right. Well, then I got to ask you about this quarterback you're going to be trying to sack all Saturday, Jalen Whitlow, former UK Wildcat.
Yeah.
He started 15 games, played in 22 games over 2 years for the Wildcats.
Yeah, definitely. I got a lot of respect for him, just for him playing for one of my favorite teams. But I know with what we got, we'll be able to stop him.
Now, he set a school record last year, rushing for 792 yards and 12 touchdowns. There's a guy that can really get out and make things happen with his legs.
Yeah, and what I refer back to is when we played Mizzou, Matty Mock, had great escapability, and we were able to contain him. So I feel like we're going to be able to do the same thing against Jason.
Well, your Wildcats beat Matty Mock and the Tigers. Well, I don't know that we'll be seeing a whole lot more of Matty Mock. They've got a new quarterback there.
Yeah.
What is the game plan coming up here against the Eastern Illinois Panthers on Saturday?
You know, we still got to go in and nail some things down, but we're definitely going to have to stop their run attack because, like you said, they're they're second in the OVC, third in the OVC. So we're definitely going to have to stop their run attack, but we're just going to have to do what we do best, which is win on third down and red zone. All
right. What has been so far for you the funnest part about playing football at Southeast?
You know, not a lot of people know this, but my freshman year, I actually walked on to this football team. So just playing college football is a dream for me. So I love every day I get to go out and do this.
And you're on scholarship now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us about that conversation when they called you in and said, son, you are now a scholarship Division I football player. What was that like, and what was the phone call to home like?
That was a dream come true. And I was so excited to tell my dad because he has just been behind me in everything I do. He comes to every single one of our games, away or home. So he's been my number one fan. So being able to tell him that I achieved that was one of the highlights of my life so far.
All right. How long of a drive is it to get home to Louisville?
4.5 hours. So I think that's a good distance, just far enough away from home so you don't have to worry about what's going on there. But if you need to get back, you can get back.
All right. How long of a drive is it to get to your accounting class?
Probably 15 minutes.
All right. We better let you go then. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. All right. That is the reigning OVC Co-Defensive Player of the Week, Chad Meredith from Louisville, Kentucky. Coach Tuke is going to join us when we come back. We are at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. It is the Colfeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke. We're back with the coach after this on the SEMO ESPN Sports Radio Network.
Greenberg for the best in local sports talk and play-by-play. It's SEMO ESPN.
Welcome back to Wings, Etc. It is the Colfeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke. We are here every Tuesday from noon until 1 o'clock. And here at Wings, they have food and drink specials throughout the week, including their 59-cent wings every Monday. They have a terrific kids menu, parents. So also remember, they've got family-friendly video games in the dining room. They are open 7 days a week. They're open late on the weekends because the games run late on the weekend. And don't forget about their daily half-pound lunch specials, which start at just $6.49. It's Wings, Etc. in Cape and Jackson. Let's welcome in head football coach Tom Matukewicz. That was a good interview with Chad Meredith. What a good guy he is.
Yeah, he's who he is because he has phenomenal parents, and the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. A lot of times when you go on a home visit, you meet the parents, and sometimes you just hit the escape button and take off running, and then other times you really want that kid. And first time I met him and met his family, just knew there was something special there. And he was just skin and bones when he first got here because he's so lanky, and I've been able to put on some weight. And he is as talented of an outside linebacker that I've had.
But a guy that from his position can apply pressure to the quarterback. I mean, that's really, really a luxury for an outside linebacker, isn't it?
It really is, and his length and the ability to kind of turn that corner on the edge or on an offensive lineman, is paying off for us for sure.
I don't know how many people pay attention to heights and weights of linebackers. It's almost freakish when a guy's 6'5" and plays linebacker.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they don't make a lot of them, or we'd have had a whole team full of them.
So your defense was one of the big storylines in the Murray State game, to hold them to just 10 points. You flat out said, we're going to give up some yards to this team, but how do we perform in the red zone? You were marvelous in the red zone Saturday.
Yeah, and that's a thing that kids, you got to make sure they know what success looks like and define it for them, because I get a question all the time about, yards. And that was when we played. You got to throw yards out the window nowadays. And what it is, it's certainly takeaways, it's stopping the run, but it's situational football. How are you on 2 minute? How are you on third down? How are you in red zone? Because that's what leads to points. And, at the end of the day, isn't that what they do? They kind of just go to the side and add their points and our points. So, let's not make it too complicated.
Well, one thing, there are a lot of football teams, especially with the way that the offenses have evolved, that can move the ball between the 20s. The championship teams, it's what you do inside the 20 on both sides of the ball, right?
Yep. And if you don't have a run game, you're going to have inconsistent days. You have inconsistent situations because, as the field shrinks, you ain't spreading them out. There's nowhere to go. And so now do you have the ability to just move people a couple feet? And that's what it takes. And so that's identity. That's our DNA. Like I tell my kids all the time, we will run the football here, and you have to understand what that does. It helps the defense stop the run. It prevents you from having just really bad days with the football, turnovers and all those things. So there's just a lot of advantages to that.
Let's talk about your goal line stand early in the football game, because they've got 2nd and goal from the 1 yard line, and they get tricky. They pull a Mike Ditka and they move a big 300-pounder into the backfield. They bring one of their 310-pound offensive linemen back there on 2 consecutive carries. Not only does he carry the ball, but he just vaults himself toward the goal line, and twice you absolutely shut him down at 310 pounds, needing 3 feet.
Yeah, I think they nicknamed him Big Sexy out there. He's not what you look for in a typical running back, but, one thing is our defensive line. Coach Kuhn does a great job of those guys. Our inside linebackers are really physical, and so we're not going to get pushed off line of scrimmage. And I can tell you this, they didn't want to hear me talk about old linemen scoring on them all week either. You can't let that happen.
Well, I still remember, it wasn't an old lineman, but I remember when the Bears won the Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 20. And Mike Ditka put Refrigerator Perry back there in the backfield. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He said that was his biggest regret of his coaching career was he didn't give Walter Payton the ball. He didn't get to score in their Super Bowl win. But when there's a 300-pounder coming at you, I mean, you got to decide, how much want to you've got.
Exactly right. And, get it. And that's why you got to play because, a lot of it's emotion. All of a sudden they're on the 1-yard line and you're disappointed.
Yep.
And that's why you got to have a next play mentality because all of a sudden you're down and you don't quite have that same energy. They just quite get in and it's a different game. And that's why we're starting to get that culture about a next play mentality. And it's fun to watch.
So they don't get in 2 straight plays from the 1-yard line. And so it's 4th down and 1. And so they're still at the 1-yard line after their 300-pounder got stuffed. So they decide they're going to throw the football. Talk about the play that Chad Meredith made because their quarterback, Humphreys, lofts one up toward the left edge of the goal line. Their tight end was there. He made the catch, and stretching for the goal line, not only did Chad make the play, but he knocks the ball out of the guy's hands. It goes out of the back of the end zone, and you guys get it at the 20-yard line.
Well, they like to do a lot of trickery type plays. They actually covered the tight end up, did a shift, moved an O-lineman over, and made that guy eligible. And so our secondary didn't have great eye discipline and let him go. But, that's how life works. A lot of times your effort will outcome overcome, maybe a bad day or a bad play. And that's exactly what happened. Put a little too much air on the ball. Chad tracked the hip, took off running, and your 6'5" been talking about. That's why when I meet a recruit, a linebacker, I tell them to turn around and put their hands. We do back-to-back with hands. If they don't have longer to me, I dap them up and I'm out because length is what matters. You tackle with your length. You deflect balls. You strip with your arms. And, he has 6'8" wingspan. And, he wouldn't have been able to tackle him, but he was able to get there enough to get the ball out. And so those are the little things that end up making big things happen.
You talk about setting the tone in a football game. If they take that first drive and march it all the way down and punch it in the end zone, boy, who knows how that game turns out. But do you set the tone and your defense makes a statement on that opening drive? How much do you think that may have changed the complexion of the football game?
I don't know. It was obviously a big play. I felt like our defense was a little bit out of sorts. It's tough to go from triple option to basically volleyball and air. Balls all over, a lot of space. Their skill was very good. Some of our pursuit angles weren't quite right, and we missed some tackles in that first drive.
Their receivers, very smallish receivers, but guys who are really lightning quick.
Yeah, and they ran through some arm tackles and stuff. They have our respect. It'll be interesting. I think, coaches got a tough coaching job to start 0-2 in the conference to see what it is. But, man, I tell you, and you could comment on this. You've been in our league a long time, but they come off the bus now. They got your attention.
Yeah.
Their front six is really good. Their skill's outstanding. That quarterback looks as good as anybody in Division I. I mean, that guy is a guy. And it'll be interesting to just see if they can kind of get it turned.
So you turn them away on the opening drive. They do end up scoring first right before the end of the first quarter. Then you put a drive together, and it's capped by Ryan McCrum's field goal. I know you probably would have loved to have gotten in the end zone on that drive, but to get on the board, you get the 0 off, and then all of a sudden your offense has put together a scoring drive. So you got to be feeling good there at 7-3. Yeah,
and that was the difference in the game. I think we were 5 for 5 or 4 for 4, whatever. We were 100% in the red zone, and so it was 1st and 4, and we take a 3-yard loss, and that's what happens. And you have to end up kicking a field goal. But very proud of McCrum. He's had 2 really good weeks of practice and has been really locked in, and you could just tell by looking at him. He's got a lot of confidence and intensity about himself that we need to have.
Then they put a drive together. It stalls. On 4th down, they come out like they're going for it. And instead, they let their quarterback, Humphreys, pooch punt one. and it rolls dead at the 1 yard line. First of all, great call by them. You know, you can't do it any better than that. And here you are. You got a true freshman quarterback making his first start in a conference game, lining up at his own 1 yard line, and all you guys do is go 12 plays, 99 yards. What a drive that has to be one of the best drives of the year.
Oh, for sure. I mean, without a doubt. You know, you're backed up, and we do backed up all the time. We talk about never give the opponent the ball on our side of the 50. You get 2 first downs, you know, and don't let that field position kill us. And there were several critical third down plays too. It wasn't like some big play.
Yeah.
Like that was a legitimate drive, lots of third down conversions. And, you know, it just feels like our offense is starting to get more comfortable. We've had a little more consistency in the lineup. You know, some of our key new guys, you know, we're feeling more confident in them, and you know, starting to open things up a little bit.
So then the drive is capped by Paul McRoberts, who just made a dazzling play. Not only did he make a good catch, and this is maybe it's got to be his best game. It was the run after the catch. I mean, he's a great guy going and making catches and big time catches. We know that. What can he do after the catch? Boy, he had a heck of a game. Yes. They had the hardest time tackling him. He goes to the left sideline, and up in the booth, we thought that they were ruling him out at the 3 yard line, but he went airborne at the 3 and hit the football against the pylon. How about that athleticism?
As good as it gets. I mean, that is exactly the point. You know, I've seen him high point balls over everybody, but I haven't really seen him do a lot of yards after catch, and he's just gotten a lot better. I think some of our weight program and conditioning has helped his running ability and some things like that. He just seems to be running much stronger and is a little quicker.
So with his ability to high point balls, his athleticism, his length, you know, obviously playmaking ability, you know, that's why the NFL is interested. But with a game like that, showing his ability to do things after contact, how much more does that do for NFL scouts?
You know, I don't know. There were 3 in yesterday watching the film, and so you know, I don't have much to do with them. They'll just ask, you know, what my opinion is a little bit, and they kind of watch the film, and all of them are really liking what they see.
You got to love it, though, when you go home at night, you may flip on the television, and here's Sports Center's on, and the number 5 play, you know, that day, top 10 Sports Center, is Paul McRoberts, Houck Stadium, making a play, and the entire nation sees Southeast Missouri State football.
Yeah, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to make a point about Paul. And, you know, we chose to put Paul out there, and he's uncomfortable how far we've put him out there. But, you know, we can't have a national program until we have a national player. And so we have a national player. It's our responsibility to get the word out on Paul. And so we're doing that, and he's doing it with play. But, you know, every time Paul McRoberts is mentioned, what follows?
Southeast Missouri State.
From Southeast Missouri State. So, you know, a high tide rises all boats. And so what's good for Paul is what's good for our team. And so I want to make sure our kids understand that. And our university, our fan base, like, hopefully we realize what a marquee player can do, you know, for a university and, you know, for a football team, you know, and certainly if he can get drafted, his name gets called, you know, from Southeast Missouri State. I mean, that it costs billions to get that kind of advertisement.
Well, I remember in this league with Eastern Illinois and Tony Romo. Now, he never did get drafted, but he won the Peyton Award, and that's the equivalent of the Heisman at the FCS level. We see what Tony Romo has morphed into, but man, when he was at Eastern Illinois, they were doing the same thing you were doing about getting his name out there and really marketing him, and that really put Eastern Illinois University on the map. I know Sean Payton went there, and Brad Childress, former NFL coaches, Mike Shanahan, but Tony Romo in the early 2000s really put Eastern Illinois' football program on the map, and they won a bunch of OVC titles in the 2000s.
Exactly, and we, you know, I was on a defense that gave up 500 yards to Tony. When I was at SIU, we played Flacco when he was at Delaware. And so
that was a playoff game, right?
Yeah, it was playoff. It was the semis. And so there's some phenomenal players that play at our level. And Paul is just as good as those guys.
Well, Southeast hasn't had a lot of success at O'Brien Stadium. I go back to 2001, maybe the oddest game ever played in OVC history, certainly the oddest game I've ever seen. There was a literal monsoon the day we played Tony Romo at Eastern Illinois. Bobby Bruni was a quarterback, and the wind was 40 miles an hour. Wind and rain was going sideways. Tony Romo starting at quarterback for Eastern Illinois, and in his 4 seasons, the only game he never threw a pass. You couldn't throw a pass. Bruni threw one time, probably 25, 30 yards downfield toward Willie Ponder. You could see the wind just blow it back. It was unbelievable. It ripped up their field so much. They played the next year on grass. It ruined their field. They had to install turf in 2003, and they've got that pro-grass turf now. But one of the craziest games of all time. But can you imagine playing a football game in a 40-mile-an-hour driving rainstorm, and you've got, the Walter Payton award-winning quarterback who's a Pro Bowler in the NFL, and you don't even throw a single pass? That is amazing.
I need to do a better job of looking at our history. But I'm going to talk a lot about our game last year. One of the most disappointing things is we turned the ball over 4 times, and they spanked us. But what really stuck with me is they out-hit us. And, I haven't been out-hit in a long time, and that bothered me. I was hard to even sleep. And so I'm going to show some of those plays. And when we walk off that field, I want to make sure that we're the most physical team.
Well, one thing we know when we go to O'Brien Stadium, it's going to be windy. I don't know what anything else with the weather is going to be like, but it will be windy when we play there on Saturday.
Yeah, anywhere in Illinois, the wind blows. And we've talked about that. There's a big track, some green space, and then the stands. And so, if you need audience to get ready for a football game, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's a 9. It's a 9 track. They do the Illinois State High School Track Championships at that stadium. Yeah. So I think it's like a 9-lane track. It's a really big track.
And so our kids need to understand you won't even know there's people there. They're so far away and stuff. And so, that is something we talk about, make sure we're prepared for, just like all the other situations.
Unfortunately, the game against Eastern Illinois last year, you had to play without Paul McRoberts. He had a broken foot in that game. That was probably the most surprising game of the year because, you guys had been really competitive with everybody, beaten several teams. You had the winning streak together. Then the Murray State game where you lost in overtime in the closing seconds. I think 4 interceptions and a lost fumble in that game. That was about as uncharacteristic of your team last year of any game was that Eastern Illinois game.
Yeah, I mean, it made my eyes bleed this morning. People come in my office, they thought I was crying, and they were right because I was watching that game last year. And so, you just got to do a great job of taking care of the football because they do a good job taking it away.
All right. One thing that Eastern Illinois does really well is run the football, just like you. You're second in the league in rushing offense. They are third in the league in rushing offense, but there's a big gap. You outrush them by 60 yards per game, but their 2-headed monster of Devin Church and Shepard Little, I mean, those are 2 really quality running backs. Church, who leads the league in total yards because, he's a guy that returns punts and kicks and is a very good running back. And then Little, who was a former All-American, and then when Church transferred from Illinois, lost his job, but you got an All-American running back who's a backup on this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good a 1-2 combo as there is in the league, and they're not tall; they're more like bowling balls. They a lot of yards after contact. Our clamps got to be really good,
similar to Roman Clay, who you saw with Murray State.
Yeah, and just tree trunks for legs. Real powerful runners and break a lot of arm tackles, and so we got to do a good job of getting multiple guys there. And just being extremely strong at point of contact.
And I don't know, what the story is. You've seen all the film. Their quarterback, Jalen Whitlow, who played in 22 games, started 15 at the University of Kentucky. Last year, he ran for almost 800 yards, school record for quarterback, 12 touchdowns. But his rushing totals going in, 57 carries, 129 yards, only 1 touchdown. What's the difference this year with him versus last year?
Well, they've been able to sack him a little more than they have.
They've given up the second most sacks in the league.
And so that takes all that rushing, a lot of the rushing off of that, you know, and early on, you know, they're out of some games and we're throwing the ball more against Northwestern and Western Illinois. And so, you know, I think they're still trying to come together a little bit there.
One thing you got to keep in mind, don't let their 1-3 record deceive you. They came within an eyelash of beating the 5th-ranked team. And Illinois State is a top 5 team in the country, and they almost beat them. They lost in overtime, but they could have won that game against Illinois State. Yeah,
I mean, that probably haunts them because they line up for a field goal to win a game, miss it. They're in overtime and fumble it. Game over. And so, you know, and they outplayed them most of the game, and that's why they're just dangerous. And, you know, it's a great game for us because they're kind of been that standard there. They're 1 or 2, you know, for the last 3 or 4 years. And last year they beat us pretty good. And so we find out how much ground we've caught up in 1 year, you know. Well, looking forward to it.
They have won a lot of OVC championships. They won back-to-back titles in 2012 and 2013. Last year they tied for 3rd under their first-year head coach, Kim Dameron. He's been an assistant coach at 12 different schools in 30 years. Have your paths ever crossed before?
They haven't. You know, I know he's a defensive coach. I know some of the same people. He's an Arkansas guy, you know, and glad that he got his opportunity. I know what that feels like to want to be a head coach for a long time, and he wanted that a lot longer than me and got that opportunity. And so, you know, happy for him. And, you know, he spent some time there at Eastern, and so it's kind of coming home for him a little bit.
The numbers really haven't been there in their passing game. They have been below average in terms of throwing the football. Now they graduated Adam Drake. I mean, they had some really good receivers that were holdovers from those championship teams. So I don't know what their talent level is at wide receiver, but so far throwing the football has not been a strength for Eastern Illinois.
Yep. A lot of people, some tight coverages, and, you know, they haven't been able to get started in a passing game near as much. And so, you know, I feel like they're a little bit like us, how we started. We're you know, they're trying to figure some things out. They had a lot of key new starters in some positions, you know, but the bottom line is we can't let those 2 running backs beat us.
Defending the pass, Eastern Illinois is number 1 in the league at defending the passing game. Now, they're not so hot against the run, but against the pass, it's been a struggle. And I don't know if those numbers are skewed because they've had trouble stopping the run. So, you know, the teams haven't thrown the ball a lot on them. But so far, they've done well against the pass, and they've got 2 fifth-year senior cornerbacks. So a lot of experience there in the defensive secondary.
Yeah, you know, passing defense is like the worst stat in America. Like it really – it should just be a coaster. You should just set your drink on the passing defense. I mean, it has no bearing on winning and losing. So, you know, what I look at is they're, I believe, number 2 in red zone defense.
Yes, they are. Behind
right?
you. You're number 1. They're number 2.
And then they're, you know, I think scoring about the middle, and they've had a really, really hard non-conference. And so this is a good defense.
Yeah, when you talk about the game that you just completed, we talked about Paul McRoberts' first touchdown, but how about the second touchdown, the 42-yard throw from Dante Vandeven to Paul? He makes the juggling catch, and that's the play that was on the highlight reel on SportsCenter. But then on the very next play, you throw it to McRoberts in the left corner of the end zone. He's so strong, the defensive back is frustrated and just shoves him. Yeah. I don't know I ever saw a flag for pass interference. Just shoves him, and he's not strong enough to shove Paul out of bounds. Not only does he not go out of bounds, he jumps up, makes the catch. He only needs to get 1 foot down, and miraculously, somehow, he gets 2 feet down in bounds. How good of a play was that? And then talk about the juggling catch 1 play prior.
I mean, and he keeps doing it. I mean, it's almost like you got to pinch yourself because you watch that and you expect that, but you don't really realize just how amazing of an athletic movement that is to track a ball and to be a guy right on your shoulder and to just come up with the ball is crazy. I'll tell you what the other thing is, if you watch the film, watch how his blocking is. mean, he had 3 guys out of bounds getting it on, and that's where he's really matured as a competitor. And are you going to compete on the fade, just like you compete when McCullough is running the ball behind you, and that's where he's taking his game to another level. Is when you watch him, you see a great player every snap, not just when the ball's at him.
Well, one thing to certainly understand, you don't have a running back like Tremaine McCullough rush for 220 yards if everybody's not up front blocking. I mean, obviously your offensive line was outstanding, but if you're going to seal the edges, those wide receivers have to be doing their job.
Yeah, and so those are all team stats, be able to run the ball like that. That's not just one person. And, of course, we think a lot of Tremaine, and he's a really good player, but, he's getting a lot of those yards, not even getting touched for a little bit.
27 carries. He's not a big guy. You've already lost to Michael Jackson. Do you sometimes think, man, just – I'm sure he needed a whirlpool after that particular game, but man, he just keeps churning out the yards. That's a lot of carries for a little guy, but man, did he put up the best rushing performance of any player in the league this year, and that includes all those running backs they've got at Jacksonville State.
Well, he did a great job, and he's as tough as a guy there is, but it definitely goes in the back of your mind. If you got another one hurt, you're down to the 3rd string tailback like that is not good anywhere. I don't care if you're at Alabama.
Yeah.
I got peace in my life. I ain't gonna worry about stuff that's never even happened yet. And so we're gonna just figure out how to try and win a game, and then if something happens, we'll work on that when it happens.
All right. Some guys that had to leave the game because they got nicked up. Adrian Davis left with what appeared to be a right knee injury. Alex Snyder had his back iced. The play where he was injured, I believe, drew a flag, a penalty. I don't know if tape of that went to the OVC office. Let's talk about some of the guys that got banged up in this last game.
Yeah, those 2 and Josh Wilson, defensive tackle, had a knee injury, and so we're down to we're out 4 starters from the start of the season. And so certainly if that climbs to 7, that's going to impact the game. And, it's an opportunity for some of these other kids to step up. And one thing, hopefully you never hear from me. First of all, if I ever make an excuse, please punch me in the face. There are no excuses. Our standards is to play well. As long as we can, if it gets so bad we can't put 11 out there, then I'll have an excuse. But if we put 11 out there, that's the standard, and let's get it on.
You expect to see Alex Snyder. Obviously, he plays a key role. Left tackle, he's protecting Dante Vandeven's blind side. Gabe Phillips came in and gave you reps there. You expect to be down a lineman Saturday?
You don't know yet. There's a lot to getting an MRI here, and so all the paperwork and everything like that, and so they hadn't had theirs yet, which is disappointing. And I'll tell you, Ben Fox, our trainer, does an amazing job, and we have a team of doctors that do a great job. It's just, that's just a part of the game that's tough. And game planning, whether or not you're going to be out 3 guys. So hopefully we'll know by tonight or first thing in the morning. So at least Wednesday's practice, if we need to juggle some things around, we'll be able to.
All right. With the loss of Adrian Davis, we saw a little bit more of Tyler McLemore. He had his first Redhawk catch in the football game. We're starting to see a little bit more of Darius Darden-Box in the passing game too.
Yeah, and Box is just a competitor, man. I love him. And Tyler's a guy that I've been hard on. When you look at him on paper, you don't understand why he's not adding more value. And, when I first last year is between his ears. And so, he's really started to grow as a kid. He's had really good grades this last year. He's starting to be, stronger in the run game, blocking and all those things. And it's just starting to go right for him. And so now, his snaps are going to maybe go from, 5 to 6 to 70. And so you worry about conditioning, you worry about a lot of these things that it takes to get a player like that ready. But, how awesome is that for that kid?
Yeah.
He's been here a long time. He's worked just as hard as all the other guys, and now he's going to get an opportunity to do what he came here to do.
Tyler McLemore, third-year redshirt sophomore, 6'3", 209, and was a junior Olympic gold medalist in Taekwondo. So there's a guy that is a tough kid.
Yeah, he might be just a hair more athletic than me.
Wow. All right. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about the Eastern Illinois game with the Redhawks and the Panthers on Saturday and look around the Ohio Valley Conference. Final segment with Coach Tuke after this from Wings in Cape. It is the Coalfeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show with Coach Tuke. Tight end on the left will be Marquette Murdoch. He'll be on the right. And Lewis Washington slot right. McCullough behind Dante, 2nd and 1 from the 48. Play action Dante. Looking deep, going for McRoberts. Home run ball. Bobble. Yeah, he caught it. He caught it. He caught it. What a play. What a fabulous catch by Paul McRoberts. Unbelievable. Juggling. Bobbling. Falling to the ground. Making a highlight reel play to the 8-yard line.
Well, whenever it's first down, you go to play action. He's got one-on-one coverage, and he made a great individual play there.
42 yards to McRoberts. They throw it for McRoberts, left corner of the end zone. He caught it. Did he stay in bounds? Touchdown! Touchdown! He's unbelievable. Wow! Tiptoeing in the left corner of the end zone. That was a magic trick. It is the Coalfeld Distributing Redhawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings, etc. in Cape Girardeau, and we'll be right back here at Wings next week in Cape. So we want to invite you to join us for lunch where they've got their $6.49 daily half-pound lunch specials, and their menu features a lot more than just wings. Freshly made burgers, wraps, subs, quesadillas. They've got entree salads, smoked ribs. If you like appetizers, try their ultimate nachos or their spicy deep-fried pickle spears, and their dining rooms are filled with a ton of high-def televisions, and they're always tuned into the game. They've got the NFL Sunday ticket, so you want to watch some NFL action. What's your fantasy team doing? You can keep up on all the action right here at Wings on Sundays. Final segment here with Coach Tom Matukewicz. Right now, you going to Eastern Illinois. This is a place, I think 10 times SEMO has played as a Division I in Charleston, 1-9. The one win in 2010 when they won the OVC championship. They picked off Jimmy Garoppolo 4 times in that game, Garoppolo's freshman year. Did you have, as the course of your coaching career, did you have those one stadiums where it seemed like it was always really hard to win a football game?
No. Stadiums don't play, right?
Yeah. It is one of those scenarios where you go to Eastern Illinois and you see a lot of banners out there. I mean, this has been one of the premier, programs in the Ohio Valley Conference. I mean, you look at the teams that now Jacksonville State, since coming in, they have been a dominant football program, but for years and years, Eastern Illinois, Eastern Kentucky, that's a cream of the crop in this league.
It really is. And every road game has its challenges. We play at one, where do you stay? You can't stay in Charleston. You stay in Effingham. So there is a lot to going on the road and just making this whole thing work. And so that when it's kicked off, your team is ready to get it on. And so, this is our first trip there. And so we just got to make sure we do a good job with our itinerary and how we prepare and make sure our kids are ready to roll.
Now, there are 2 towns there, Charleston and Mattoon. It's kind of like Cape and Jackson right there. There are more hotels in Mattoon. There's almost nothing in Charleston. And Effingham is about 45 minutes to an hour away. So you've got a little bit of a bus hike on game day.
Yep. And, and it's 1 o'clock kickoff. So I get you up a little earlier. And so those are the things that we're already talking about. As a coach, there's nothing better than the only thing better than a 1 o'clock game is an 11 o'clock game. Because you can get it done and you get a little time before you got to move on to the next game. But as a players, they want to play at night under the lights. And so we just got to make sure we're prepared for that. But like we've talked about, like we're just really looking forward to this game. And we haven't, had a lot of success versus Eastern Illinois. And but, that has nothing to do with the current staff or team. And so just be a good game for us. And one follow-up on Murray is the fact that we closed it out. Every win I had here was close. Maybe Austin Peay we ran away, but really every game was a
down to the wire
situation. Yeah. And so this game, we were a 2-score game, headed into the fourth quarter, and it ended a 3-score game. And so that tells you a lot about your team. Like you're able to close that team out. You didn't let them get a cheap touchdown. Then now all of a sudden we're dealing with an onside, a Hail Mary, and all of a sudden a lot of things could happen to you. So that was good to see our team maybe make that next step.
Are there many things better because you lined up in victory formation? Are there many things better as a coach than calling for victory formation?
No. Yeah. When the game's over, you make a pick on a 2-minute situation, exactly what you should do. Everybody in the stands know they're going to throw it, and so you close the game out the way a good football team should do.
And, you're second in the league in interceptions. Mike Ford leads the league now. That pick sealed the game. Mike Ford, his 3rd interception. He's a playmaker, isn't he?
Yeah, he had a great game, and that's going to be a key to victory. They're one of the worst in turnover margins in the league, and, I think they've had 6 picks and 4 fumbles. And so we got to do a great job of taking when that ball's in the air, we got to go up and get it.
And your team, a +5, 3rd in the league in turnover margin, still very strong, a +5.
Yeah, we're still got to get a lot better. I mean, Dante, is throwing 3 picks in the red zone, and we got to cut it out. So we're still got to get better there.
Well, I heard you say after the game when you were talking to Todd, he's playing like a freshman quarterback. We need him to play like a sophomore quarterback. Is that your analysis?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Everybody's excited about Dante because, man, look what he's doing for being just a freshman. Well, you know, we're trying to win a championship. So he needs to play like a championship quarterback, and he's no longer a freshman. He's played games, and so let's keep taking that next step. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy with his progress and thrilled to be his head football coach. But my job is to make sure that we press people to get as good as they could get, because that's what it takes to be your best. And so we're really trying to attack some holes in his game that we're working on.
Well, the one thing, he has one conference start under his belt, and he led the offense to a victory. So, you know, in terms of being a winning quarterback right now, 1-0. And you said school history. Never before has SEMO ever won their conference opener back-to-back years. You did it last year against UT Martin. You did it this year. 2-0 would sound awfully nice.
Yeah.
But that's another school record for you.
Well, amen. That's why I got you around. I don't even know all these things. So that sounds good to me. You know, our focus is 1-0. You know, each and every week is its own week. Beating Murray, how's that going to help us beat Eastern? I mean, you know, we got to have the best Tuesday practice we've had, you know, to try and go 1-0, and then the next week try to go 1-0, and just try to get our kids to not think about down the line, just think about the moment and think about the challenges of this week.
All right, biggest challenge to play Eastern Illinois is what?
Their run game. You know, they got really good players. They're committed to it, and so you know, if they rush for 200 yards, we probably didn't win a football game. And so we got to do a great job of stopping the run, you know, and still come down to turnovers.
All right. I was disappointed when Bill Goshi walked in. It's the month of October. I see no pink. I tried to come breast cancer awareness. We got the pink jersey game coming up October 31st against Tennessee Tech. And people who are Redhawk fans or people that want to get involved, people that want to help with breast cancer awareness and make some bids on these pink jerseys, which will be worn in the football game against Tennessee Tech, tell them about what you are doing, because it's terrific.
Well, you can go to GoSoutheast.com and click on a link that'll take you to the online auction. And so what we're doing is we're auctioning the ability to put a name on the back of the jersey. You know, on the front it says Southeast, and right now it says Paul McRoberts or whoever's jersey it is. But we're going to have a special pink jersey, and that'll allow maybe a cancer survivor, a cancer victim's name to be honored that day. And as a player, right after we get done with the Red Hawk walk, we're going to walk in our locker room, and there's going to be a card there. In their locker, they're going to read about their person that's on the back of their jersey and about their life and the difference they've made in other people's life. And then they're going to go out and play in their honor. And then after the game, they're going to get to meet the families that bought it and give them the jersey. And so how could you do that and be the same person?
Yeah.
Like that's a life-changing moment. And so just want to encourage everybody to come alongside this project and let's make a difference. I mean, it's not about wearing pink. It's about making a difference in our community and making a difference in someone's life. And I'm just really excited about that. It ends Monday, the 12th. And so, you know, some of those jerseys are still out there that haven't been bid on. And so really like to get everybody on board with this.
GoSoutheast.com/donate, and you can get in on the live auction. It is going on right now. And it's not about wearing pink, but on October 31st it is. We need Goshi wearing pink on October 31st.
I didn't even notice he come in.
Yeah.
He must have went under the table.
He kind of snuck in. It's hard to see him sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It'll be 1 o'clock, the kickoff in Charleston at O'Brien Stadium on Saturday. Coach, we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Coach Tuke. We're going to get you back into ESPN programming. Rosillo and Cannell coming up. We'll talk to you next week. Don't forget, 12:30 pregame from O'Brien Stadium in Charleston as the Redhawks take on Eastern Illinois. So long, everybody.